Welcome to Small Town Bringdown. I'm Brandon Grader.
I'm Elliot Drew.
Thanks for tuning in to the number one podcast amongst people who find it cheaper than therapy.
It's our life, man.
Although, yeah, it's definitely...
I'm sorry.
Take a moment.
Do
you need a tissue?
No,
I'll stop my clock.
I that kind of makes me think. Like, remember, there's always been, and there always will be. People need a place to talk about their lives. And everybody's got a buddy, maybe. You don't necessarily need a therapist.
No,
but you need whether you go fishing with a buddy and you just complain about stuff or talk about stuff, you need some outlet to let go of life's issues.
Local bartender or whatever.
Whoever it happens to be.
Yeah.
But I think as human beings, if you lived all alone and you had nobody to tell your woes to, you'd start to get a little nuts.
Yeah.
I think that's why mountain men, if people look at guys that just live in complete isolation, they're like, how do you do that? That's just weird.
Yeah.
But even those guys, they have some outlet. They have a Wilson, Tom Hanks even had to create a character out of a volleyball just so he had somebody to talk to. And I often think that if you live in isolation like that, you've got a Wilson somewhere.
Of some form.
I would think. It may not be something stupid, but you got a stuffed,
might be a dog or
a stuffed squirrel somewhere,
or a fucking knot hole in a tree or
something. Whatever. Somewhere you go someplace to hey, I'm just gonna tell you about how tough shit is right now.
Yeah, and
this show in a lot of ways has kind of become that for us. Not necessarily on the show itself.
No,
because we don't necessarily we gripe about a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
but
it's not like we're coming in here being like, you wouldn't fucking believe what my wife did.
Yeah, but before the show,
it's not the Brandon and Elliot bitch about our lives podcast.
But before the show,
although that makes a great title for a new podcast. Just bitch about everything.
Just bitch about it. We have nothing positive to say.
My
about
fucking
anything.
Kids, you wouldn't believe what those little shits did.
And yes, we've vented about a lot of stuff over the years.
I think that podcast would probably lead to divorce for both of us. Mm-hmm. I would think.
Yeah, we couldn't let anybody know that we were putting that out there because I think our
be
wives
a
would
podcast
listen
for
to
two.
that.
That's it.
Yeah. So why was that only a 3-episode podcast?
Well, have you ever heard of murder suicide? Because that's kind of what happened. Well, really? What happened? Well, Elliot got murdered. And they made it look like Brandon killed himself.
Yeah. Nobody ever really knows what went down in that studio that night.
Yeah. Things got weird. They made a choice. I mean, kudos for making the choice and sticking with it. But I in my own professional, I think it was a bad choice.
It was a bad choice.
Bad choice.
Yeah. Maybe, they thought they were being funny, and then it went really wrong.
Yeah.
Turns
out their wives were right all along. Wasn't funny.
Yeah. But in a lot of ways, this has become our therapy.
Yeah.
Over the years, because, we've been doing this a long time now.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. And so we get together once a week. So naturally, it's kind of turned into, okay, man. We get together. So what's going on? Oh, this is going on, and that's going. That sucks, dude. Yeah, it does. It sucks. Or hey, that's great.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Our lives aren't that horrible.
Well, there's a lot of things I know from my own thing, and I'm pretty sure you've done the same. There's been a lot of times where something's happened in my life during the week, and it's not enough to be where I'm gonna, because we see we're friends, we're good friends, but we're not necessarily hanging out with each other every day kind of friends.
Yeah.
And it's not that we wouldn't, it's just that we have other shit going on.
Well,
so
I don't know if when you're in school, when we used to, because there was times when we used to hang out every day.
Oh yeah, for weeks on end.
For forever. But adulting,
yeah, exactly,
kind of circumvents.
Yeah, exactly. So
that whole thing.
Excuse me. So I always find it weird. I see people that are adults, same as us, and they're on a Tuesday night, they're going out to the pub and they're drinking with their buddies.
Yeah.
And they've got kids at home, or like they're playing hockey like 3 nights a week, and they've got wives and kids at home and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, why are you guys hanging out with your buddies every night? Like, that's just it's weird to me.
See, but like I think if you're like I have friends that like they do like softball.
Well, yeah.
And so
okay,
like during
sure.
softball season, they'll be out 3-4 nights a week.
Yeah.
Right, and they play their softball, and their teams they get like it's the same guys every year, and they kind of have that time.
Fair enough.
I do the same thing with a show. Like when I'm in a show, like right now we're rehearsing 3 days a week.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess because I don't really do that kind of stuff, then sometimes when I see it, I'm like, why?
Yeah,
I just don't understand it. But it's mostly because I'm a loser, and I don't have a lot of friends. So,
but see, like there's some people like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, it's Tuesday.
yeah.
Well, you know what? I have nothing going on Tuesday, so you want to get together Tuesday? Yeah, let's get together Tuesday. Let's go to the bar. We'll have a couple of beers. The difference is that it's a couple of beers.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's one of the hardest things to like kind of wrap my head around when I think about that is like when we were kids and or when we were younger, we'd be like, what are you doing Tuesday? Well, let's get together for a couple of beers. Okay, let's get to. It was not a couple of beers.
Usually a couple dozen.
It was a couple dozen, and it's 4:00 in the morning, and like we all got to be up at work Wednesday, but we didn't think about that. Like now, I'm like, so are we meeting at let's meet at 7 because I kind of like to be home and in bed by like 9:30.
Yeah.
That's 2.5 hours.
So
That's plenty of time to catch up.
What time do you want to meet? 11? 12?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. That's ridiculous. If we're going to do that, like if you're meeting like 11 a.m. the next day and we're going to go for breakfast, then that's fine.
If this is a brunch thing, I'm totally in.
I can do brunch, but 11 o'clock at night, don't be fucking stupid.
Nothing happens at 11 o'clock at night anymore.
I'm over 40, man. Knock that shit off. Quit being fucking stupid.
Like the only thing that's happening at 11 o'clock at night is like some kind of like I'm on like I have to watch the last episode of a show.
Yeah.
Right? Like I've got to see that episode.
Finish the binge.
Yeah. But I'm at home. I'm like my feet are up on the couch. I'm settled in. I'm done.
Yeah.
That's an 11 o'clock at night thing.
Yeah.
Other than being here because we watch the clock get closer and closer to midnight.
Yeah. But that's our entire week of not hanging out the rest of the time. So we're like 4 hours on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
Then we're just making up for lost time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Small town breakdown, the number one time killer in our lives.
In our lives. Yeah.
So, what is up with you? There you go.
that was really hard to get out.
I was trying to come up with like a witty way to say it and like some sort of funny, but
like just like how's your week?
Yeah, I don't know.
My week's honestly at this point in time, my weeks are all the same. I'm in that mode, which I love. I love this mode. I'm like I get up, I do my my stuff in the morning. I go to work. I come home. On these days, I have rehearsal. On these days, I have other things. Like this has been it's actually been a ridiculous like travel week for me. I was like in Victoria on Thursday and Friday,
which is 3 hours from here,
and then I had to go out of town again on Saturday for a play thing, and then today I had meetings at the theater for other stuff, and we're planning our season for next year. So it's been a really busy like week of outside stuff, and then. But other than that, like it's pretty much just my life it's good. It's just rolling.
Yeah.
I feel good about it.
Yeah.
The sun is starting to shine on occasion. The clouds break and the weird light comes through and hits the ground and it hits you and you're like, oh, it's warmth and energy. Like it really. I think that for the first time this year, I've missed the sun.
Really.
I can't explain, and I don't know if it's just that I was kind of out in the sun this summer because I'm back out and driving around after 2 years of literally being in a hole.
Yeah.
And not a literal hole, but like I've been locked in a building where I just and quite often I'd get there before the sun shone and leave in the dark.
Yeah.
And so after the summer, I was like, oh, sun again. It's nice. And so I kind of missed the sun. And so now that it's starting to come back, I really noticed, like, people are perking up. Everybody's kind of like, hey, life is getting good. I'm digging that, So I feel like the energy of spring this year.
Yeah.
Which I normally don't. Like, I'm normally like, it's another whatever. It's just going to get hot soon. Who cares?
Yeah,
it's just the precursor to the hotness.
Yeah.
That I don't want to have to deal with.
Yeah.
And but this year I'm like, no, it's kind of nice. And
that's good.
And so that's been really nice. I got to say that life at home is kind of turning a corner.
Yeah.
And that's really good. And things are feeling, I don't know,
That's good.
I kind of feel positive about existence, which is
It's like
it's
totally
kind of fun.
against your character. Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a pretty good week. I did some work for some new clients, which is always fun because most of what I do, as you know, I never actually have to meet my clients. Which makes it sound really clandestine. It's not at all. But what it is because I'm able to work from home, most of my clients will simply email me their stuff, and I'm able to work with that from there. So I've had some new clients this week. I bought myself a new vehicle this week. I mean, it's old, it's used, but it's new to me. And so I got that this week. And my kids are getting over. They had some colds, and the wife was sick for a few days. And now I'm getting sick, so that's awesome. But I figure with all this beer we're going to drink tonight, I'm
just
hoping,
burn it out of your system.
Yeah, I'm hoping I'll just hold it off a little bit. And if all else fails, I got whiskey in the cupboard, right? So.
Yeah. Well, that's usually all it takes.
Yeah.
Just like a 26-hour remedy.
But
26-hour, 26-ounce remedy. That's what I meant to say.
Excuse me. We were out today, and my two daughters that are still in the house volunteer at the local a local place here. So we took them there, and then we took the two other kids, and we went to the park because it was nice and sunny. It was still a little cold. It was only about 10 degrees Celsius, which is warm compared to obviously our winter, but it's still a little chilly, and the wind was blowing, and it was starting to cloud up a little bit. We did have some rain today.
We did.
But while we were there, I noticed that there was a definite, like a mellow vibe.
Yeah.
You could feel like everybody was like, we were at this place where it's called the Harbor Key, and it's right on the water, and there's like a park and some fields and a playground and lots of touristy like lookout things and all this kind of stuff. But while we were there, like in the wintertime, people just kind of drive through. There's like a loop, and they drive through, and they're like, "Get me the fuck out of here! I gotta get out of here! I'm in a hurry. It's shitty weather, blah blah blah." But once the sun comes out, everybody kind of like cruises through, and you start getting hot rod cars and guys on their Harleys and all that, and that was starting to happen today.
Yeah.
The weather's finally turned around here, so everybody's like, you're starting to see some hot rods out there and nice bikes and all this kind of stuff. So that was starting to I noticed that today, and that was kind of cool.
And people just seem like everybody's kind of like, hey, it's all right.
Yeah, like we took the kids
it's just all right. Like things are good.
We took them to one of the, like a donut shop, and we're having a donut and a coffee and whatever. And, well, not the kids, they weren't drinking coffee, but the wife and I are having a cup of coffee, and they're having donuts and a drink and so on. And everybody coming in was like the most sour person I saw that was there was the young girl working behind the counter.
Yeah.
Because she was like, fuck you and your donuts.
This is a Sunday. I should be enjoying it too.
Yeah, exactly. This is bullshit. I only make fucking 11 whatever minimum wages. I don't even know. But, so she was the most sour person I saw all day.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of nice. It was a nice, refreshing thing to have.
Yeah.
Or to be experiencing again. Because it's not like everybody's bitchy all the time.
No.
But when the weather comes out, there is that nice little bump of good
people
times
just,
and good,
everybody's like
good feelings.
Just a little bit more smiley. Everybody's just feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like I was driving back on Friday, and I had to pull over in my car, and the sun was shining down through my window enough that I was like, oh my gosh, I need to take my jacket off. Like, it's too hot to be wearing this jacket.
Yeah.
Why am I wearing a jacket? And so I took my jacket off, and I was like, wow, I'm warm, and it's nice, and I'm feeling good. And I wasn't even too upset when I got stopped in traffic like a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Because there was a whackload of accidents and horribleness on the highway, which I wasn't happy about. Because let's be honest, I'm not one of those miserable people that's like, ha ha, you all deserve to die on the road.
Wow. Do you think there's people out there that are like that
Yes.
when people are in accidents?
Yeah, I think there are. I think there are people that are
They
like,
just drive by and they're like,
Karma.
fuck you, I hope you're dead.
karma got you. You were a bad driver once. And then they speed away, from the accident scene, leave tire tracks.
That's very dark.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But they exist, man. I've seen those people.
I'm
on the
sure
road.
they must, right?
Yeah, you know they do.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, as
they're-
much as there's like some people that drive by those accidents and are so empathetic about it all that they break down in tears.
Yeah.
They're like, I can't believe there's death on the highway. I can't. There's those people too, and
Yeah.
they exist.
Yeah.
And if those people exist,
There's
then
got to
the
be
other
other
side's
people.
got to
Yeah.
exist.
Fair enough.
Like, there's some guys, and I hope they're few and far between, but they like see that accident, and they're like, oh yeah, this is great, and they just get joy from it.
Yeah.
Versus like anger, because that's, I think, most, like, there's more people that are like, they're just they're angry about being stuck in traffic, so when they finally see the accident, they're like, you deserve it.
yeah.
That's justification.
When I was younger, I always used to be like, somebody would pass me driving. Mm-hmm. And then I always sort of put this out into the universe where I was like somebody would pass me driving like an idiot on a blind corner or something like that. And I would be like, oh, I hope they fucking crash.
Yeah.
Or I hope, not that I wanted to see them die, but I was like, I hope they fucking crash into a tree and destroy their car at least or something.
Yeah.
And luckily, I don't ever recall anything like that ever actually happening. There was a couple times where I was driving in the snow and somebody would pass me in an idiotic fashion, and I'd be like, oh, I hope they get stuck in the snow. And sure enough, they got stuck in the snow, half a kilometer down the road or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was never one to wish, like, harm on other people.
Yeah.
But sometimes when, I'll watch these videos on YouTube or whatever, and excuse me, and they'll be like I watched one particular in today, and there was a guy in his car, and I don't know, I guess he felt that this semi-truck driver had wronged him in some way.
Oh.
So he was brake checking this semi-truck. And he's got like a little car, it's probably like, I don't know, like a Toyota Camry or something like that size.
Yeah.
And he's brake checking a 50-ton semi. And eventually the semi driver gets on his radio and he's like, breaker, I need some help over here. And these two other semis show up and they were like, no, we're not putting up with that shit. So they blocked off the highway and they did a little bit of truck driver vigilanteism.
Yeah.
And they got this guy and he got out of his car and he was confronting them and they ended up punching him and he attacked them. They didn't attack him. But so anyways, there was like a fight on the side of the highway and everything. And I was like, that's what you get.
Yeah.
That's the kind of, I don't want the guy to get seriously hurt where he ends up in the hospital, but if you're going to be an idiot.
I'd like to just see him get bitch slapped.
Yeah, you need to get a slap or you need to get stuck in the snow or something like that. But other than that, anyways. But I do notice a lot of that changes until it gets really super hot. When it's like 40 fucking degrees, then everybody gets bitchy because they're like too hot.
Well, and that's why I think spring is like the great season. Like, I used to love fall. Like, I used to be like, I've never been like a winter person. Whatever. I grew up with snow and horribleness, and we left that and we came here to rain and horribleness. And I prefer the rain and horribleness because it's better than the snow and horribleness.
Welcome to the island. Welcome to Vancouver Island.
You know.
It's mostly rain and horribleness.
That's what winter's about. It's about, like, it's going to rain a lot, it's going to be cold, it's going to be gross, and that's what winter is. And I've accepted that.
Yeah.
So I was never like, there's some people who are like, oh, winter's coming, and it's it's Christmas and snow and great, like Valentine and all these things happen in winter, and they just love it.
Yeah.
And those people are strange to me. I don't quite get those people. And then there's people who are definitely like summer people. They're like, you know what? I just love the sun, and they go. Those are the people that go live on beaches, and they like live in bikinis and little Speedos, and they just love that. They're like, we just love summer because we can be naked.
Yeah. I'm not one of those people.
And I've never been one of those people.
Yeah.
So I always used to, but I used to love fall because I used to love the whole, the transition from summer to winter. I liked that.
What do you mean? Like, you like the pumpkins on the ground?
Yeah.
And the
like the
color
harvest
changing of the leaves
season. And like, I like Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I always thought it was a better holiday than Christmas because it didn't require a lot of work.
Yeah.
It was a dinner.
Yeah, it's a big dinner.
It's just a big dinner. Have some drinks.
Maybe a cornucopia.
Yeah.
Maybe some hand turkeys.
Yeah. Like stuff that like really is kind of meaningless, but there's not a lot of pressure put on you other than like you get together with your family and eat.
Yeah.
And I always thought that's a holiday I can kind of like dig.
Yeah.
And in my own way, like which pretty much says it's a holiday I don't rile against.
Yeah.
Like I don't get like angry about because it's all right. It's still not good.
Tolerable.
But as far as holidays go, it's okay.
For this Thanksgiving dinner, we'd like to go around the table, and we'd really like it if every one of you could say something that you're thankful for. I'm thankful for the joyous occasion of our family gathering together. And I'm thankful for the fact that we get to eat a great turkey dinner. And what are you thankful for, Elliot? I'm thankful that I can tolerate this bullshit.
Pretty much. Also, like Remembrance Day, which is my favorite holiday.
It's not really a holiday.
It's
a holiday.
Yes.
No, hold it. Let me reverse that statement. It is officially a holiday, but when most people picture holiday,
yeah,
it's like a joyous occasion and something to celebrate. Now, Remembrance Day or Veterans Day in the States is definitely something to honor and something to participate in. I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah.
I wasn't meaning that. But what I meant is like...
Well, the best thing is
the joy factor behind it.
See, I don't know. I kind of like part of me, like there's a part of me that's like, the best thing you can do to honor the memory of people who fought for my freedom is to indulge in my freedom.
Yeah, fair enough, because I've had some pretty good moments after Remembrance Day ceremonies at the fucking local Legion getting shittered.
Yeah.
So
like there's a lot of goodness that comes out of that, and a lot of it's just like, I'm going to take this extra time I have in my life. We go do our thing in the morning, and then in the afternoon, we're just like, I'm going to sit here and enjoy my freedom.
Yeah.
Like, watch me
freedom,
just sitting in my house being free.
Yeah.
Like, and in no particular, like, weird
Suck
way.
on that, Germany.
But I'm like, to all those oppressors out there, watch me sit on my couch and enjoy freedom.
Yeah.
I'm going to read a book because I can.
Yeah.
Because I didn't burn it. Because books are cool. Whatever it happens to be that you do that makes you feel free, you should be able to indulge in that.
Not burning books. So when I sit around and I think about my levels of freedom,
yeah,
which, I mean, let's face it, is fairly often, that is actually in my top 5.
Yeah.
Not burning books.
I'm reading a book because it didn't get burnt.
Yep.
That's pretty cool to me.
So there's not burning books.
Yeah.
There's ability to say whatever you want on a weekly Sunday night recorded podcast session. Really, part of my freedom is I can look at boobs anytime I want to.
Yeah.
Especially since the internet. I mean, it was a lot harder when we were kids, but
yeah.
That's actually. Did you ever randomly, when you were a kid, just suddenly come into possession of a porno magazine?
Yes.
Like literally sometimes you'd be walking down the road and there'd be a porno magazine sitting there in the middle of the road. Did that ever happen to you? Because that happened to me more than once.
I don't think I ever like randomly found like in like the middle of the road, but I do remember we were like in a barn somewhere, like a buddy's place or whatever, and we found some like there was like
a little
three
stash.
or four, like there was a little stash, and we were all like, we're gonna grab one.
Yeah,
you know,
they won't notice if we only take one.
Yeah. And like no, there was like 4 or 5, and there were 3 of us, and we each took one, so there was like 2 left.
So
they were gonna notice.
Yeah.
But we were like, we're taking these magazines, and we were like maybe 12.
Yeah.
I remember that happening, but I never remember like just walking randomly down the road and they're lying on the side of the road was like porn.
Yeah, that happened with me more than once, and I don't know if it was like they had bought it at the store, because it wasn't, now that I think about it, it wasn't that far from kind of our local convenience store.
Yeah.
So maybe they had like bought it and like put it maybe up on the roof of their vehicle while they were loading other stuff and forgot about it, and it blew off as they were driving or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it probably happened, I would say probably at least twice, maybe 3 times. I just randomly, there's a porno magazine in the middle of the road. I'm not sure what that's all about.
I never saw that until I went to Vegas, and then in Vegas, there's literally porn like littered. It's littered. Like it's littered.
Really?
Yeah. Well, they have
that must have been nice, because weren't you on that trip with your Mormon parents?
Yes, I was. But this particular, because they didn't really come down the strip with us.
Oh, okay.
But
they were leaving the debauchery to yourself.
And me and Mary, we were walking the strip, and sure enough, as we're going down the road, they have like, like where you get newspapers from, like on the like
the boxes,
like the boxes. Yeah. They'd have these little boxes, but they'd be filled with like flyers for escorts and prostitutes and strip clubs.
In that Ocean's 11 movie.
Yeah.
They have the bags that are full of them and they blow them up or whatever.
Yeah, and like we're walking along, and so there's like flyers with all these naked women just littering, and like literally it's litter.
Really? Huh.
Along the side of the road.
Crazy.
So that was the first time I ever experienced just roadside porn.
Roadside porn. I mean, if you're going to... Look, there's 2 kinds of porn. Well, actually, there's more than 2, but there's 2 really cool ones. One is free porn.
Yeah.
The second one is roadside porn.
But at that, like, it wasn't like it was like great porn. It just happened like there's like
boobs or whatever.
There was like
topless dancers,
photocopy quality, like like newspaper ad quality.
Yeah.
And there would be photographs of like a naked woman on them.
Yeah.
And she's topless, and you'd be like, "There's boobs on that." Technically, there's boobs on that picture.
That's porn.
It's porn.
Yep.
So roadside porn.
Yep. Well, that counts. I'd say that counts.
I'm gonna go with it counts.
Yeah.
Because that's how I felt at that moment. I'm like, there's porn right there.
Well,
like,
I mean,
anybody could just come along and get that porn.
Of all the roadside attractions, I gotta admit, probably roadside porn is probably one of the best roadside attractions.
Yeah. If I was driving down the street and all of a sudden there was a big like light up sign that said "Stop here for porn," I would think about stopping.
I probably wouldn't, because it'd probably be pretty skeevy.
Yeah.
But definitely it would get your attention, and you would momentarily be like,
you have to make a conscious decision not to stop. Actually, like,
yeah. Because at that point, it's so glaringly obvious of what it is, and it's like it's almost tempting to be like, I should probably stop and see what this is all about.
Yeah.
Like, they're putting it right out there on Front Street. There's porn here.
Your first reaction is, I need to see porn.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the thing, is I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
Like, that's the initial reaction. I saw that porn littered on the side of the road. My first reaction was to pick it up. I didn't.
That's probably a good idea.
I didn't pick up the roadside porn.
Yeah.
But I definitely examined it. I'm like, is that real? We should stop.
Just give it a little push with your toes.
Just like to spread that page out. Oh, yeah, that's some boobs.
Yeah.
So
when I was, I don't know, I was probably like 9 or 10. It was was before I discovered the Beastie Boys. And that was when I was in 86. No, 86. Yeah. So
It's much like Jesus. You've defined your life in pre and post Beastie Boy phases.
yeah, very much so. But so it was 1986. So I was like 9. Yeah, something like, depending on let's say it was the summer of when I was 9. Let's say that. I remember clearly I was riding my bike with Brian, and we were coming down this road. We were heading to our other friend's place. Brian and Ryan. They each lived at, like, Brian lived, I don't know, it seemed a lot further when we were kids, but now it's like, I think it's like 8 houses down or maybe 10 houses down or something.
Yeah.
In actuality, I don't even think it was that now. Now that I'm talking about it, I'm thinking it was probably like 4 houses.
Yeah.
But anyways, so we're riding our bikes and we're going down to Ryan's house and we're going to go hang out there for the time. And while we're riding there, there's, boom, porn. So we had a fort.
That's all kids do.
In the bush, like in the forest behind Brian's parents' place.
And that's where you kept your porn, right? Because that's why young men build forts.
Of course, that's why you have, yeah. That, I think there's 2 reasons why young men build forts. One is to hide their porn.
Yeah.
And B is to lose their dad's tools.
Yes.
I mean,
well, that just goes without saying. I think
it's inevitable.
As you build the fort, you just lose the tools.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not like we're purposely being like, we're gonna build this fort to hide our porn, and then we're going to fuck over our dads by losing his hammers. Okay? It's never a conscious decision. I remember, like, about 10 years ago, my dad was like, do you know how many hammers you've lost of mine? Do you know how many tape measures I've had to buy because of you? Do you know how many fucking, like this? And I'm like, yeah. Do you know how many forts I had to build to hide my porn? Look, Dad, we all had struggles, okay? It's not my fault that my porn forts needed your... Look, when you build a porn fort, there's debt to be paid.
Yeah.
Okay. Like when you build a house, traditional builders will take a bough of a tree and put it up at the highest peak in order to honor the wood and the forest from which the wood came to build that house. It's a tradition.
Yeah.
To build a porn fort, you have to actually sacrifice a hammer and a tape measure and a level. Okay. Yeah. That's just the way it is.
You used levels and you built forts.
I wasn't a fucking savage.
We never used a level.
No, we never did either. We barely used nails. Like, we just put it on there, we had one nail holding an entire fort together. You just do it, you got sticks, you jam it in there, yeah. You lash it together with some rope.
Yeah. And, like, there's, like, times where I'm like, because we actually had one fort. It was 3 stories tall.
Yeah, we had a couple of them, too.
That were, like, it was actually, like, it had, like, ladders that went up off the ground, and like by the time you were done, you were 20 feet in the air.
Yeah,
and it was kind of scary because I don't know what was holding that fort up.
Yeah, pretty much just sheer will and determination at that point.
Yeah. Like, because I remember, like, my dad would be like, "We're like, we need nails," and so there was a point where we built so many forts because there was 4 boys in the house.
Yeah,
so like when I started building forts at like 8.
Yeah.
My dad was pretty like, we'd be like, can we use some nails? He'd be like, go ahead, get whatever you want.
Yeah.
By the time I remember building our last fort, my dad had and I wasn't even like, it wasn't my doing. At this point, it was like, I think Lawrence, like, he was like my 3rd brother.
Yeah.
He was like getting to be 9 or 10. So he was like, I'm going to build a fort. Can you guys help? And as older brothers do, we were like, oh, fine. Fine.
God damn it. If somebody would invent the internet, we wouldn't be fucking... Yeah. We wouldn't have to build your stupid fort.
Well, but your parents were like, get out and play, so we had nothing better to do.
Go help your brother build a fort.
And he was like, can we build a fort? I want to build a fort. And we're like, fine, we'll help you build a fort. And... because that's what he wanted to do. Well, by that point in time, we'd be like, Dad, we're going to build a fort. Can we have some nails? And he'd be like, yes, you can have this one coffee can full of nails. And they were always like so bent or like rusted or like they were like, he'd purposely been saving like any nail he couldn't reuse. He was like, the kids are going to ask me for nails eventually.
That's the kids' nail bucket.
And so, like, you'd have to be so careful banging them straight or getting them as straight as you could be. And you take them out, and like some of them would be like strip screws.
Yeah.
And you just hammer them in.
Yeah, fucking just drive it in there.
The wood you're using is half rotten anyway.
Yeah. There's already some pilot holes through it where your dad pulled out the nails before.
Yeah. And so, like, by that point in time, he got smart. So he's like, you can use this, and you can use this hammer.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all my tools. And so then we had to get sneaky.
Yeah.
And then we'd be like, okay, when Dad goes back inside, somebody grab that hammer. And not like, let's go into the shop and grab it. No, that hammer that he's put down there because he's doing a job and he's got to go inside.
His A1 number one
take
hammer.
a leak. Just, you got to go run. I mean, it was always the youngest one, too.
Yeah.
Lawrence, okay, we're going to be over here. We need another hammer. When Dad goes inside, you run over there and grab his hammer.
And throw Lawrence under the bus. You do it.
And so sure enough, he come running back, I got the hammer. And we'd run into the woods to wherever we're building the fort. And then 10 minutes later, you'd hear my dad screaming, boys, where's my hammer? Because he's like come out and then spent 10 minutes
looking for his hammer.
Like, where I thought I put it here.
What the hell?
We've all done that. Like, I swear I left it. Oh, I must have put it over here. No, I didn't put it over. Where's my hammer?
Yeah.
And then he'd be like, that's it. And then he'd come storming in. He'd be like, I told you one hammer. You can't give me that other hammer. You get no hammers. And
you drive those strip screws in with rocks.
And then he'd go back to his job. And then, who took it? Lawrence took it. You get inside. You can't even play outside anymore.
No more forts for you.
And then, like 15 minutes later, you'd be like, Dad, we need a hammer. He'd be like, fine. And he'd give you back the old crappy hammer.
The shit one, yeah.
Off you go. Get out of my hair. And, yeah.
That's because eventually, as he's trying to build his thing, he can only handle so much.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing? Why are you hanging out here? I thought you were building a fort.
We don't have a hammer.
Yeah.
We really need to have a hammer. But somebody took the hammer away. We know we can't build a hammer. We don't have a hammer. What are we supposed to do? We can't hammer a nail without a hammer. That's why it's called hammering. Can't hammer without a hammer. Otherwise, it's just like pounding.
And finally, he's just like, here, take this hammer
He's
and
like,
leave. Just leave
Look,
me
you
alone.
motherfuckers. Take the goddamn hammer. And go fucking drive a nail.
Just leave me alone.
Go hammer some shit. I don't care if you hammer each other's heads by this time. I don't give a fuck.
Just don't bother me.
Leave me
today.
alone. This is my hammer. Leave it alone and fuck off.
And the next person that touches this good hammer is going to get hammered.
Yeah, it's funny how, like, when you're growing up, like, even now I have 3 hammers. Well, I have multiples because I have, like, sledgehammers for doing some blacksmithing stuff and so on and so forth. But I have 3, what I would consider 3 nail hammers. I have one which is like it's got it's almost like an axe handle. It's a framing hammer. It's designed for like lifting walls. I had it when I was a carpenter, so I could like use it to lift a wall to get it closer to the thing and all. It was or for demolition. It's a fucking
Skookum hammer.
You've seen it.
Yeah.
It's a fucking hammer. And then I have like fiberglass handle hammer with like it's got a really hooked claw. Like my big framing hammer has a hook for pulling nails and stuff too, but it's fairly straight, which enables it to act almost like a pry bar and all that kind of stuff. And then I have a fiberglass handle one that somebody had given me that is good for like finishing nails and that kind of stuff inside the house because it's a little lighter and it's got actually a smooth face on it. So when you're tapping in a finishing nail, it doesn't mark up the surface of the wood or anything like that. And then I have another one, which is actually like, it's very similar to the fiberglass one, except it's a hollow aluminum shaft handle. And like if you look at it, the thing gets nervous because it's like, what are you going to make me do? And so that is like when the kids ask for a hammer, that's the hammer that they get.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm willing to sacrifice that aluminum handle. Like if they're going to build something out in the backyard, that's the one that can go out in the ring.
Well, that's the hammer. Like, and that was the thing is my dad had like his good hammers, but I actually think at some point in time he went out and bought like
specifically bought a shit hammer.
He'd be and he bought a couple of them because we continually lost them, and he had more.
Yeah, he went and bought a box. He bought an entire truckload of them one day.
The cheapest hammer.
Yeah,
because the other
they
thing
were
too is
11 cents a piece.
So we're like 12 years old. I'm not that strong.
Yeah,
like I'm not like it's not like I was a big beefy kid. I was a skinny, scrawny.
Well, you're 40 now, and you're still a skinny, scrawny dude.
Exactly, and I bent one of his hammers.
Yeah.
Like I was pulling a nail or doing something.
That's
and I
basically
bent it.
tinfoil.
It was a hammer made out of exactly like a tinfoil hammer. So I'm like, that has got to be the cheapest hammer. And then we were trying to straighten it.
Yeah.
And it snapped.
Yeah, done.
And I'm like, I can't tell my dad I broke his hammer.
Yeah.
Because now I'm freaked. I'm like, I broke the hammer. And so
meanwhile, he's secretly, when you finally admit it to him, or he finds it, he's like, "Oh, I'm so glad that was that one instead of my good one."
Well, and that's what. But the next time I went, look, I found another one.
Yeah,
that was exactly the same, but none of them looked
healed itself.
None of them looked new.
Yeah,
like they had like the bad rubber grip that sometime would like fall off.
Yeah, like they would have what do you got, like leather string wrapping. Not leather, like shoelaces, but it was kind of wrapped around.
Oh no,
that style.
It was like a rubber glove that just went on.
Okay. Because we always had the one. Maybe my dad was a little fancier than your dad was.
Yeah.
But it was like fake leather, almost like leather. You know, like when you on a baseball glove.
Yeah, like the lacing.
Yeah, and they have the lacing that. Well, they would have that on the hammer handles.
Oh.
And it would sort of wrap around, and then it would be like melted to the top, and then eventually, like it would start unpeeling. Eventually,
and
of course these are like nowadays these are the type you buy at the dollar store, but it would start unpeeling, and at that point my dad was logging, and he was making really good money at the time, and eventually he'd be like, "Oh, it's the handle's fucked, just go and get another one." And we would go into the fucking hammer closet.
Yeah.
And there would be like 80 of them in there. and there would be like a threshold of height. And when we were only this tall, we could only use these hammers.
Oh, yeah.
And they were the shit hammers. And then once we got a little bit older, like my brother, when we were growing up, we would always go out and cut firewood because we heated our house with wood. And my dad would always run the chainsaw. And then my older brother, Merrick, would do the splitting. And then Adam and I, the younger brothers, we would take the small pieces and throw them in the truck, right? But then eventually it got to the point where I got to do all the splitting, and Merrick got to do the chainsaw work.
Yeah,
because he had gotten old enough and experienced, and he was able to run the chainsaw. And my dad seemed to do a lot of drinking beer at that point.
Well, that's the whole point. If you put in the time with the kids, eventually you'll be like, "So we're going to do the work. You guys are ready to do the work. I'm going to sit over here, and I'm going to supervise."
But what would happen is my dad, because we would always like we didn't go out and find firewood that was 16 inches, like little tiny small trees, 12 inches across or something like that.
Yeah.
We went out and found 4-foot fucking firs.
Yeah.
And 6-foot firs, and so my dad would pull out a chainsaw that's as long as that fucking couch you're sitting on.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, for like 25 minutes cutting through this fucking tree. And then my brother would take the small, take the small saw, which still is like you have a little chainsaw.
Yeah.
And our little chainsaw, our little baby saw that we learned how to run chainsaw on, had a 36-inch bar.
Yeah.
Which is easily probably twice what the size yours is.
Yeah.
And that was just because my dad was a logger, so it was what was there, right? He had 48-inch bars, 52-inch bars for cutting these big, huge trees, and then when we learned, it was just on small chainsaws, or big chainsaws because that's what was
That
there.
was his small.
That was
chainsaw.
his small one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like those are the ones he used to hang because my dad used to go up and climb a tree with spurs on his feet and a rope around his waist and like buck branches off and like top the. I remember I was probably like. I must have been about 10 or 12. And I remember my dad working at my uncle's place. Well, not at my uncle, but like across the street from my uncle's place doing a job for this guy. And the trees must have been, oh fuck, if they were shorter than 100 feet tall, I would be surprised.
Yeah.
And he went up, he climbed them up like with a rope and literally fucking spikes on his feet. And he'd get up there and he'd buck the branches off as he's going so he can keep going. And then he would get up high enough and then he would cut the top of the tree off. And it was literally like you see in the movies where he's fucking swaying back and forth on the tree because he just cut off 40 feet of the tree. And now he's swaying back and forth on this tree. He could easily, that tree snaps, he's dead.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about that. And then he'd come down and he'd go down 4 feet and he'd cut off a 4-foot section and push it off the fucking thing. Bam! Down on the ground. And he did that and he cut down all these trees.
Yeah.
And that was like, we grew up around that kind of stuff all the time. So running chainsaws for us eventually became pretty second nature.
Yeah.
But my dad never, it wasn't like his hammers. We were never allowed to take his chainsaws.
No.
But that was because he was in the position where those made him money. And that's like when I had my big framing hammer. The only reason I have that is because that was $100 and something hammer. The only reason I have that is because I used it to make money.
Yeah.
And these little hammers, like we've been talking about, the ones our dads were willingly sending to the slaughter of childhood youth, they never had to make money with them. So they didn't give a shit. It's like when you go to the dollar store, you're not going there to buy top quality stuff. You're going there to buy something that you're willing to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I don't think it's not like my dad was rich.
No.
So he's not like hammers for everyone, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
But he made sure there was enough hammers that, once that one got lost or broken or inevitably, sacrificed to the gods of the porn fort, that that he would be able to be like, here's another one. Because he knew if we didn't have a crappy hammer to use, we would take his good one.
We'd find the good one.
We'd find a good one. We were like, one way or another, that bent-ass nail was getting driven into a piece of wood.
Yeah. Did you, when you were growing up, did you ever get annoyed when your dad, like you tear something apart and you tear a chunk of wood off the wall, and then your job was to take the nails out of it and then straighten the nails? When you were like, we could just go to the fucking store, and they've got an entire thing, a bulk bin of brand new nails, and they're right there. You just go and buy some new ones. Were you ever annoyed by the fact that your dad never, ever in your entire childhood ever seemed to buy
new nails?
Because that fucking used to drive me mental.
My dad wasn't in the, we never had to do, we had to pull all the nails from the wood.
Yeah.
For sure. But, we would pull them and he would throw them into a bin.
Okay.
And if they, and then he would go through and sort them.
Gotcha.
Because I don't think he trusted us to be good nail, bad nail. Because there were some, and he never.
They were all just bad nail to you guys.
To us, they were oh, this kid, it's used nail.
Yeah.
It's new nail is good nail, used nail is bad nail.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. But then, he's like, I need a nail, and depending on who was working with him on the day, because we were always working with him. One of us would be working, or two of us would be working with him. So whoever was going to the nail bin, I remember George being 4 or 5 and running to go get nails from the nail bin.
Yeah.
And he'd just literally bring back whatever was in the nail bin.
Yeah.
And so some of it would be junk, because so my dad actually, he'd be just put all the nails in this tin.
Okay.
And then he would go through and decide oh, that one's no good.
He was the arbiter of good nails.
But he never was that's no good, I should throw it away.
Yeah.
He was like, that's no good. It goes into the not good nail bin.
Yeah. Okay, look.
You never...
Welcome to Bruce's scale of nails. We have good nails. They're the best nails. They're the brand newest nails.
Yeah.
And then we have the slightly less good nails, but they're still good. They're just a little bit not as new as the new nails.
Yeah.
And then go all the way down to shit that we cannot throw away. We will never use. These are strictly nail bin filling nails.
But I remember when we moved from our first farm and we were moving out to BC, we went into the shop.
Yeah.
Like into my dad's. There was like kind of a mudroom shop area at the back of the house.
Okay.
Where he kept all his tools and stuff like that. And me and my mom were packing up, and tin after tin after tin of just random screws, nails, washers. And like there were some, if it was really good, it got sorted. Like if it was really good, it got sorted. And it actually got sorted into like, a size or a thing. And there were little drawers.
Okay.
But if a drawer was full, he didn't need to sort that stuff anymore. So he didn't need to look for it.
Yeah. It's right there.
Because there's lots of those. And so if there were more of those, they just go into a general collection bin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not like, we should like, get another box and put all of those into that box.
Yeah.
No, just into a general. And like I remember my dad being like, because you go out to do a job and you buy like 10 washers.
Yeah.
Well, you only need 2.
Yeah.
For that job. And the washers were marked on like little plastic things, but those things annoyed so he would literally take the remaining 8 washers and put them into a big coffee can of stuff. So while we were moving out.
So you had a big coffee can with 8 washers in it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Like into these random bins.
Gotcha.
And eventually he would be like, oh, I need some, like that one drawer of washers would get empty.
Yeah.
He'd be like, oh, I need washers. Somewhere in these 92 tins, there'll be more washers that size.
Yeah.
And that would be our job.
Find me some washers.
Find me washers, and he would give you like the last washer that he needed or something like that and be like, find me more washers like this.
Yeah.
And we'd have to hunt for these things and find those washers. And as many as we could, and then he would fill up a little jar with them, and that would go into like the good pile. But then why you're only looking for those washers, so you would fill up that one thing, and then you would put everything back into the bin. It wasn't like, while we're sorting through this, let's put them like all together, and then no, it all went into the one bin.
It's like when you have a change jar, and you need 50 cents in dimes for whatever reason. So you dump out your change jar on your bin, you find your 50 cents in dimes, and instead of being like, here's the quarters, here's the pennies, here's the nickels, here's the loonies.
No,
it's not. No, it's all just goes back into the change jar, and then back on the shelf, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it would take you like 3 minutes to sort it, but fuck it. Why bother?
He had like one complete wall that was like, he built a shelf and then actually built a layer of shelf in front of that shelf.
So a double shelf.
So it could be a double shelf. And like, it was already like more than one can deep.
Yeah.
But he doubled the depth of it. So it was like almost like where you had trouble reaching the back as a child, where my dad didn't, because my dad has, like, now as an adult, I have, monkey arms like my dad. So like you could reach back there. But as a child, it was hard to get to the back of the shelf.
Yeah.
And so he had built that to store just these random
buckets of
whatever. Nails or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember when me and my mom were packing everything up, I'm like, what the heck do I do with this? Like, we can't, there's no sense. Like, this must weigh, like, it's full. Like, it's full of cans, full of, like, and they're not even standardized cans. They're, like super random.
Whatever
but they're all
was
filled
around.
with junk.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not sorting it. We're not doing anything with it. I'm not packing this up. I'm not, like, we don't need to bring this.
Yeah.
This is all, like, this is not stuff that, like, we need.
Yeah. We can just go buy more.
I'm like, the organizer that's over here, I'm like, we'll take that.
Yeah.
That's important, and I know that Dad would want that stuff. But I'm like, I'm not bringing this. and it was my job to go through like the shop because my mom was like, well, you know what's important, so you bring that out. And I'm like, oh, I'm leaving this and I'm leaving that. And I'm like, I'm getting his tools, my dad's tools together, and I'm like, oh, he'll need these tools. But then I started looking, I'm like, he has like a bunch of rusted pairs of pliers.
Yeah.
He doesn't need these. I'm not taking them.
Fuck it.
Not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not packing this. We only have one, like, only have X number amount of space in the cube van. I'm not putting this stuff in there.
Okay.
And so we go through, and like 2/3 of the stuff gets left in the shop.
Okay.
By the time I'm done. My mom is talking to my dad on the phone that night, and she's like, yeah, we packed up the shop today. And my dad's like, did you get all my nails? Did you get all my screws and stuff? And she's like, yeah, Elliot packed up your organizer. It's all good. He's like, no, all my bins.
Yeah.
I need my cans. My mom's like, well, we were thinking we were going to bring... Nope. So we actually ended up packing up all those cans, and like some of them are like just like little like, soup cans.
Yeah.
Into like boxes, and putting them on the truck, and just taking this thousands of pounds worth of scrap mail and bringing it across the country because my dad couldn't let go of it.
Well, see, here's the thing, though. You're a father. I'm a father.
Yeah.
Both of our dads are fathers, I'm assuming. I mean, I don't know your dad that well, but I'm assuming he's a father.
Yeah.
There's one thing, and the reason why your dad wanted all of those screws and nails. Because at some point, he knew that you needed to build a porn fort. So he was just thinking ahead.
He was just thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, I was old enough I wasn't going to do it, but like George had yet to build a porn.
Yeah.
He hadn't
He's
built
like,
it yet.
look, I got 4 boys, Elliot, Richard, Lawrence. They've all built porn forts.
Yeah.
George hasn't got there yet.
Yeah.
He hasn't discovered porn yet, so we have to do this.
Yeah.
We have to bring them all the way across the country because British Columbia doesn't have adequate supplies of screws and nails. So we have to bring them all the way across the country
just to make sure he's got them.
So there's enough there so that George may build his inaugural porn fort. For Small Town Bringdown, I'm Brandon Grader.
I'm Elliot Drew.
Thanks for listening to us talk shit about shit.
I grew up in a real small town. Main streets, there was no one around. Skipping school, smoking pot in the sun. Remember days when we were young. I grew up, got a beautiful wife. I brought a son into...
This has been a Lunchbox fabrication.